Hey, welcome everyone. It's been a while. It's been a long time that we didn't do any Ask Me Anything. So, welcome. You are at the Ask Me Anything Live at the Observability Clinic Ask Me Anything Live. And I'm here with my friend Andy. Hey, Andy, how are you?
Good, Henrik. Thank you so much. As you said, it's been too long almost to do Ask Me Anything because I think this is one of the best formats ever because we get the chance to interact with people as they bring in their questions. And I think this is also, why I encourage everyone who will join us on all the different channels to ask as many questions as they can. Right?
Yeah, so good take. In fact, so it's a great thing to remind it. So, if you're connected to this live stream, it means that you're probably from LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitch or Facebook. So it means that you are following us. That's great. Thank you for at least coming and join us. So we have 1 hour together, and so you can, if you want to interact with us and ask anything, just use your social network platform that you use. Drop your questions, and we will obviously gonna answer to your questions. But
Mhm.
today, Andy, I think we have a special topic today.
I think we do. But before we go to this topic, I want to say one more thing, Henrik. Thank you so much for doing this because I know you've been instrumental to really connect with our community around observability over the last couple of months and years since you've joined Dynatrace. So just want to take the opportunity and say thank you for doing that. But now, as you said, to the topic. I think this is part of a series, and we kick off the series of cloud providers, hyperscaler
Exactly.
observability today, right, with Microsoft Azure.
Yes, that's correct. So today we're going to talk about what we do, what we are able to do with Azure, and what's every potential options that we have. And obviously, if you have any question related to the topic, please bring your questions. And just to remind, it's part of a series, so there are several providers that we're going to cover every month. So today is Azure, like mentioned. Next month, on the 18th of October, we will have a live Ask Me Anything related to Google service, so GCP. And last, we'll end with Amazon on the 15th of November. So follow us, and we will have other similar events for each individual cloud providers. But I
And
think the topic is very. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was just saying, it's amazing that we have so many topics. And I remember, Henrik, we both used to know a lot of things. I mean, we still know a lot of things, but the industry is so broad now with all the technologies where it's almost feels impossible to stay up to date with everything that is happening. And
That's true.
this is why we need to bring in the real experts to answer some of the questions. And also, what I like most about these Ask Me Anythings, even though we're hosting, I'm the one to get to learn a lot new as well. And that's why. Who do we
Yeah, I
have?
agree. So, hey, Mark Thompson. Hi from Mark. So that's great. Enjoy. So stay us with the next hour. We will have lots of interesting things related to Azure. So to be able to cover properly this topic, we have specific experts within Dynatrace that we would like to bring here to this Ask Me Anything. So first of all, we have Michal, which handles is a product manager at Dynatrace. So hi, Michal. How are you?
Hi everyone, I'm really good. So looking forward to talk about Azure today.
And we have an architect with us. We have the honor of an architect. So we have Pavel. So hi, Pavel. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. So, hello everyone. Looking forward for questions.
And last we have Jay. Jay, connected from North America.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Looking forward to showing you guys Dynatrace for Azure today.
So to kick off this session, I think it's going to be really important that we take a few minutes to remind what we do, what is the what type of services we support, anything about the current state of Dynatrace and Azure. So, Michal, do you want to maybe walk through what we are able to do today?
Sure, I'll do a quick catch up and I'll share my screen here. So first of all, Dynatrace monitors Azure in a quite wide variety of ways. Here we have one of the regions, West Europe, when we have a couple of Windows, Linux hosts that are instrumented with our one agent, and then we have services that are detected by the agent, and all of those contribute to the website or a mobile application that is being used by the final user of that particular setup. But we also have some cloud services like load balancing, like, oh, I don't know which one is this, like Azure Redis or App Service Plan. To have all those things instrumented and monitored in a proper way, we actually use a couple of different technologies. So wherever we are able to instrument the workload with one agent or one agent-alike integration, we do that. We do that for Kubernetes, for VMs, for serverless, or for the functions, Spring Apps, which is a nice integration with Azure, then together with Microsoft, actually, and a couple of others. But apart of that instrumentation, we, of course, also use Azure Monitor. And in Azure Monitor, we are able to monitor more than 100, I think 107 was the last count, maybe now it's 110 services that produce metrics into Azure Monitor. So when you connect your Azure environment to Dynatrace, when you allow Dynatrace to monitor it with the API calls to Azure Monitor, you will actually have similar view to that, maybe a little bit more filled with data, or maybe less, depends on your environment. These are the key services, the services that are built into Dynatrace. We believe these are the most important, crucial services for most of the customers. Hence, they are pre-selected and provided here immediately after you provide the connection. For example, for virtual machines, let's go into one of the regions, maybe that one. We can see that we have a list of virtual machines. Some of them are monitored with one agent, so we have additional information. Some of them do not need to be monitored by one agent. Maybe they are not that crucial for the final application, but still we are able to get multiple metrics like CPU, network, or a couple of others from the APIs that support Azure Monitor. But I want to go back and also show you database as a second most popular component in the monitor by Dynatrace. So for simple databases, we'll also get a couple of metrics here. You can choose which one you want to monitor. Same for Cosmos DB, and we have 2 instances of Cosmos DB here in this particular environment. These are 2 examples. There are, I think, 12 services totally here, but this is not everything. In the small box called Cloud Services, we are adding, here's just one, but we can add up to 100 different services from the very long list of what Azure is actually providing for monitoring. So, and this service can be probably I cannot add it here, but they can be added and configured on metric and dimension level, which is quite important because then this granularity of the configuration is important for different use cases of the user. Let's see one of the instances of a service. This is actually Azure App Service Plan. And that instance, we monitor in terms of the crucial metrics like CPU percentage, memory, some data transit in and out, but also some additional metrics that you can also configure in that place that I showed you just before, like resource usage, which I think wasn't present there, like this queue length item. Okay, and coming back to the main Azure screen, we also provide predefined alerts for some of the services, and these are also available configuration. For example, here we have 7 different predefined alerting rules that you can adjust. They are predefined. We have some threshold setup, built-in setup, but then of course this can be adjusted depending on the particular needs of the environment. And maybe this was missing. I also want to mention we also ingest logs. I don't have log configured here. I think this deserves actually a separate session to talk about the logs, especially with all the changes that we've been introducing recently and will be introducing in future for the logs. But the cloud logs is also an important part of how we have this holistic view on monitoring Azure. What we recently did, we actually allow customers to enable and disable each service. So even those built-in services can be disabled, if there's a need for that. I think I could have an example for that as well, somewhere in here. Well, maybe not yet. So here I can actually remove the services and stop monitoring them. So if you want to limit your your data intake or API calls, this is possible. This is some part of the flexibility that we are going into, especially for those key services that we have built in. This flexibility is coming. This is something that we've been working for a couple of months, and we still need some time to work on that, but this is definitely coming. And some other items that we want to have in future. It's not only for Azure, but for all clouds. We would like to have a new overview that is able to provide a perspective across all the clouds that we monitor, so AWS, GCP, and Azure. And with this quick overview, I wanna give the mic back to, I think, Jay, to continue on the details of our integration.
Perfect. Thank you, Michal. So we have our newest offering, actually, which is called Dynatrace for Azure. It's a native resource that's directly integrated inside the Azure portal. So how you would go about setting that up, actually, I'm going to walk through that demo for you today. So I'm in the Azure portal screen right now. If I want to go ahead and kick off the workflow to create the Dynatrace resource, I would come in and hit create, search for the Dynatrace resource. I want to single out the Dynatrace for Azure resource, which is what we have set up today. So if I click on the Dynatrace for Azure resource, I'm going to go ahead and subscribe to it. So this would come up basically in a private offer directly inside your tenant. I've already got a private offer set up within my tenant, so that's why it's showing up there. So once I hit subscribe, I'm going to create a new Dynatrace environment, which is basically a Dynatrace SaaS tenant now that's set up directly inside of Azure as well. I'm going to give it some.
Jay, give me just a small. I think there's an audio problem on your end. It's very difficult for us to understand, and I think that there is other attendees who also has the same experience. Could you maybe check that the audio is well connected, because at the moment it's breaking.
It is. I'll probably move up closer to the microphone if that's helpful. Is that better?
No, I think it's related to your internet connection, because it's going very fast.
Oh, okay. Hopefully, I'll try to slow down and see if that helps. I don't know. My internet connection seems to be okay. I'm getting a 10 out of 10. Is it better?
Can you maybe reconnect? Maybe can you disconnect and reconnect? Because I think that's the issue, maybe.
Okay,
yeah. So while you're doing this, I have a few questions, Michal, because I was waiting to ask questions
Sure.
after what you showed us. So in terms of if I'm let's say I'm managing the teams and I want to follow who is using which service and everything, so I guess from the Azure screen you have the ability to follow the various services utilized by the different teams. This is obviously possible, I guess, no?
Yes, definitely. And for large customers, when you are connecting multiple environments from the Azure cloud into Dynatrace, you usually would define some slice and dice mechanism. Management zones, for example, this is the one approach that you can use here. You can use automated tagging based on what is already tagged in Azure, because we do import those tags from the Azure cloud. So I think there are at least a couple of ways to slice and dice that large environment into manageable groups. And this can also be connected with permissions, but even to have those limits of the visibility for particular stakeholders. This is
okay.
possible.
And similar, all the I would say labels or properties that are attached to a given machine in a Azure service, is those properties and labels will be imported as well in Dynatrace automatically?
Correct. Those the metadata of the instances, as we call them in Dynatrace, like parameters of the virtual machine, like memory size, or memory size maybe not, but a couple of others, they are being imported into Dynatrace by default. Not all of them are yet fully accessible, which means that for, I think, 90 services, we do have all those data accessible by default, but then it is a bit limited for those services that we haven't refurbished for a long time. It is coming. This is something that I was also speaking there. We're adding this flexibility, and this is definitely coming.
Okay. Maybe we can. So Jay, you're welcome back. Jay, maybe you can say a couple of words to figure out if it's better.
Oh, hopefully the audio quality is better now.
Much better.
Okay, so I
Much better.
reconnected another device in its place. All right, so let's go back to the demo, and I can walk you through kind of the resource creation. So once I am back into the Azure portal screen, I'm able to kind of provide a resource group.
Jay, I think you have not shared your screen yet, I think.
Oh, I am sorry. I need to do that. All right, perfect. So once I'm back in the Azure portal screen again, I have to provide a resource group. I'll give it a resource name as well. And then also the region that I want to throw the Dynatrace SaaS tenant in. And then also the private offer details as well. Once I've kind of gone through all of those items, I can quickly just go ahead and create the environment. And then once the environment is created, now you actually have a Dynatrace SaaS tenant and then a Dynatrace resource that's directly attached with that SaaS tenant in your portal, in your Azure portal as well. From here, if I wanted to kind of quickly assess which resources are actually sending their logs data. So now that we have that resource and the tenant directly in Azure, I can kind of send all of my observability data for all the Azure services within my tenant directly to that Dynatrace tenant. Here I can come in and take a look, for example, which of my Azure services are sending all of their log data to my tenant that I have out there in Azure as well, right? And I can quickly manipulate if I wanted to via Azure tags, which additional resources I want to have their logs sent to my Dynatrace tenant. Now, this is the cooler part actually of this new integration now. Now it's more a one-click install for our one agent on VMs or even Azure App Services today. I can quickly come in and assess which VMs already have one agent deployed to it today. And if I wanted to kind of quickly say, I want it deployed to all of these out there right now. And I'd say click install, and it automatically goes out in the background and starts to install the one agent and tie it to our Dynatrace SaaS tenant that we have provisioned out there in Azure for you as well. Same goes for Azure App Services as well. If I wanted to come in and deploy our one agent extension out there on Azure App Services that are Windows-based, I can quickly come in and select the one that I want and then click OK to install it. And it goes automatically in the background to do the installation for you. Now, if I pivot over to our overview blade of our resource that we've created out there in your tenant, and if I want to jump into my Dynatrace SaaS tenant that's out there right now, here, because I have single sign-on already set up with our tenant, I can log into, well, I can log it. So this is the beauty of live demos, right? I can quickly log into my Dynatrace SaaS tenant and look at, for example, all of the log data that we had sent from all the various resources from Azure, right? So here I can see all of the Azure resources that we have log data for just within the last 7 days, or if we want to just filter down to the last couple of hours, we have the capability to look at that data. Also, any hosts that we've sent Dynatrace data to our SaaS tenant, we can come in and quickly assess all the different hosts that are sending their Dynatrace data to our tenant. Same goes for any app services that we've deployed to as well. If there are any app services that we've deployed our one agent to, they would all show up under the services screen also. So that's kind of the beauty of this new integration. It's all kind of an integrated onboarding and then management experience directly inside the Azure portal and then with Dynatrace alongside as well. Henrik, I'll turn it over to you.
It's fantastic. Question. So we have a question coming in from the attendees, but I have a question from what I've seen. So if I start a tenant in Azure, would that be part of my Azure subscription? So I don't have, basically everything is being handled from an Azure perspective. I from a billing perspective, I would say.
It would be running, the SaaS tenant would be running in our subscription, but you would have a link to it within your tenant.
Gotcha. Okay. Very cool. Very cool. I really like the fact that it's very easy, and even if I think I can ask my daughter if she can deploy one agent on those VMs. I think that would be a funny game to do.
Yes.
So I think we have a questions from the attendees.
And Henrik, do you mind if I quickly take this? Because
Of course.
I said earlier that I don't know as much as I used to know about Dynatrace because it's growing so fast, but I think I can answer this one. But please, the product managers, you are keeping me in check in case I say something wrong here. The question is, does Dynatrace work for environments that already is having any issues, or does the AI need to learn normal operations and compare degradation metrics from the experience? I think the beauty of Dynatrace is that you can leverage the AI to really as they appear over time. But I think, Michael, as you said also earlier, we already have some, first of all, pre-configured alerts that we know when certain metrics go beyond a certain threshold. That's not a good thing. You can define your own alerts. But the best thing of this, and I've been doing performance analytics and performance diagnostics for many, many years, all of the data that we have, the metrics, the traces, the logs, Jay, you just showed it, the logs, all easily accessible. That means you can just dig into the data yourself and say, hey, there is a problem with my app, with my Azure function, or maybe with a database, and Dynatrace collects all of your traces, all of your database executions, all of your memory activity, all of your garbage collection activity. And so you can diagnose this and figure out where your hotspots are. But then also rely and trust the AI to alert you in case something all of a sudden starts to change in the behavior into a negative thing. And there's a lot of material out there where we show you how you can really use Dynatrace for, I call it ad hoc diagnostics or hotspot analysis, but then also how you can leverage the AI to then get automatic problem alerting, which is really cool. And I also want to say one more thing, Jay, to you. I'm not sure why Henrik's daughter would want to use one agents, but if she wants to, of course. But it's really, the integration is really so smooth because you are in the Azure portal and you just check, install the one agent, and that's it. I saw one comment earlier from Mark around Monaco, Jay, Michael or Pavel. I think in Azure, you have a lot of configuration as code opportunities as well. The ARM templates, or I think that's how they're called. Can you also roll out the one agent with this in case one of our customers is using configuration management?
Yeah, you can still leverage our old integrations either through Monaco, ARM templates, or just the old extension as well. You can still leverage all of those capabilities also. This is just an add-on functionality that helps kind of helps get the one agent out there quicker and faster.
Cool.
I think there was a questions that could just come up and disappeared very quickly. I was going to, but I don't see it. So can we see how AKS is integrated? So I guess Jay, you should walk through this piece, or I think the question will be more how you configure actually the Dynatrace. I mean, how you configure Dynatrace to pull out all the service metrics. Maybe Michal, maybe we can cover that topic. So what is the required configuration?
Okay, so basically, AKS is a Kubernetes service, and we would definitely recommend to monitor it as a Kubernetes service. That part that is generating metric in Azure Monitor, of course, can also be monitored, and this is rather high-level monitoring on whether the whole service is performing as expected. But I would definitely start with the instrumentation of the Kubernetes, which is done regardless on which cloud or on-premise the Kubernetes is. Pavel, you want to chime in here on the Kubernetes part?
So you told everything. I can only add that we also support the container registry of Azure, and this can bring some additional value to the picture.
But question: so if I have installed the Dynatrace operator in my AKS cluster, and then I turn out the integration, do I need, by the way, to turn on the integration with AKS, or it's not required because I already collect those metrics? Should I just turn out the services that I'm only interested in and not turn out everything? What's your your take on this? What's your recommendation?
Let me take it. We're definitely starting with operator, and those metrics I would treat as an additional one, more as an optional ones. I don't think that these would point us directly into the root cause of a particular pod or a workload that is failing. Yes, as I said, these will provide a general health status of the whole cluster. I know if Azure is underperforming in terms of the region, for example, outage or something like that, yes, then we will have that kind of data. But if you want to focus on the particular application that runs somewhere in your AKS and you want to monitor thoroughly, let's go full stack here. So with operator.
Okay. I think we have another questions more or less related to the remediation, related to remediation. So, so the question is, oh, okay, I will tell the question. Does Dynatrace take actions or propose remediation based on log results, which does not look within the thresholds?
Henrik, if you don't mind, I would just at least try to give this one a shot because it's a topic that I've been trying to promote over the last couple of years. So I think to digest that question a little bit, and maybe John, I know you are the magician behind the scenes. If you can maybe type the question out again, it's for everybody to see. That's great. The thing is that Dynatrace would automatically give you a problem in case we see abnormal behavior. Abnormal behavior, the question was focused around logs, but this really works on everything. It could be metrics, it could be unusual end user behavior. It could be, we just had a question around AKS. Something is going wrong in AKS, and AKS, for whatever reason, cannot pull your images from your container registry. Any abnormal behavior that Dynatrace detects, or where you specify what normal behavior is by specifying thresholds, would trigger a so-called problem. And then we give you the information about who is actually impacted, what is the root cause. So the root cause could really be maybe a failing connection with the backend system. And with this context information, we can then trigger, we normally would trigger external tools that you already have in place that then actually take remediation actions. Depending on your maturity level, you may just send a message to an external system like a ChatOps solution. You may create a ticket in your ticketing system. We have integrations with ServiceNow, Xmatters, PagerDuty, all of these tools that you normally see in enterprise accounts. Now, what we suggest as a best practice, typically an abnormal behavior starts when somebody makes a change. The change could be an intentional change because you deploy a new version, you make a configuration change, but it could also be an unintentional change, or maybe a change in workload. All of a sudden you have an influx in traffic. If you're making changes to the system, we suggest that you send Dynatrace the information about that. Let's say Michael is making a change to a load balancer, right? Or Pavel is making a change by deploying a new version of a certain app. If you send this information over to Dynatrace and telling Dynatrace who made the change, what was the intention of the change, this change event would also then show up as part of the problem ticket, which means we tell you something is wrong, and we know that it was either Michael or Pavel or Henrik or Jay or Andy who actually caused this problem. With this, you can then better steer and automate your remediation, because not only do you know what is the impact, you don't only know what the root cause is, but also know who to talk to and what to do next. And I think this is, Andy causes the problem. I see this, Mark. I hope not. Sometimes I do. But but I'll try not to do so. Hopefully, this
But-
makes some sense what I just explained in the long term way.
But do just to relate it to the log. So if there is something coming on the log level, you will have to at least create specific events from the log perspective or specific metrics from the log perspective to then be able to be alerted. I guess no.
You can specify which log patterns Dynatrace should watch out for, right? That's one thing. If you know certain logs, then you can get alerted. What we also do on a distributed trace perspective, we are capturing the logs also on the distributed trace. And let's say if there's an error log that is then also resulting to a failed transaction, we would mark that transaction as failed, showing you also every single log on that transaction, giving you even more context to then figure out how to solve this problem.
That what basically might happen during that time frame.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And not
Okay.
only during the time frame, yes, you get all the logs in the time frame, but we are also, and this is something that we announced a couple of months ago, we are really combining distributed trace with the logs that are written by this particular transaction. So we really show you, we call it from pure path to logs, from distributed trace to log. You see all the logs that are written or generated by an individual end-to-end transaction. That's really powerful.
Don't bring the topic of open telemetry right now. Otherwise, I'm gonna cry and be very honored to talk about it.
I won't.
We have another question from a really interesting question, by the way. So if we can pop it up, that would be great. So it's log forwarding is done through an Azure function, default way, or an active gate component. Is the log message content compressed in both cases or only when sending via the active gate?
So I can take that particular question actually. During the traditional way, you had to set up a Azure function, and then you had to set up an event hub to do a lot of the log forwarding for Azure resources. With the new Dynatrace for Azure integration that we have now, all of that is done in the background for you. You no longer have to set up that Azure function. You no longer have to set up that event hub. Microsoft is directly sending us the Azure logs from the Azure portal integration in the background for you. So you no longer have to configure all those components within your tenant anymore.
And is it going to be compressed or is it going to be sent? How is it directly to normal through API call? Maybe more details on how it's being exchanged.
Powell, do you know if it's compressed in the background?
Yes, this is compressed of the in the background, but this is not the problem of the customer anymore, because this is direct integration between Microsoft Backbone and our servers. So all the traffic flows seamlessly.
So this is when you have your tenant running in AKS as a SaaS tenant.
This must be a tenant running in one of our SaaS regions, and currently there are two for this project. It's West Europe and East US.
Okay. I think we have another question from Peter. So I have a client using Azure platform-based OpenShift PaaS service, which needs infrastructure monitoring capabilities. And what Azure Monitor tools can offer? Will Dynatrace be able to support Aero, also OpenShift PaaS services? From my perspective, just from a pure Kubernetes perspective, OpenShift, if you deploy the operator in your OpenShift cluster, similar to the traditional AKS, you will get lots of value and lots of visibility and observability on what's going on your cluster, and you will have default dashboard as well. So that's the vanilla, I would say, support from OpenShift or of Kubernetes in general. But do we have extra metrics on that service, Michal or Pavel?
I think this is a part of Azure Monitor for Container Insights or Container Insights in Azure Monitor, and I don't think we have metrics for that.
Okay.
But then this would be maybe a good suggestion for maybe an extension, or I mean, if there's any metrics that are exposed somehow. And actually, Mark Tomlinson was just also trying to explain what REO may stand for, Azure Red Hat OpenShift. Maybe we don't know that, but something to take home with us, I guess, as an action item.
Definitely.
There was a question that. Oh yeah, thanks from Mark. Thank you. So, how about security in Azure, like making remediation to a security group, firewall, blocking bad actor, denial services, blah blah blah, and so on.
Maybe this is a follow-up to what I explained earlier. So as Dynatrace itself, even though we have the agents installed and we could, execute remediation actions, what we do right now and what we see our customers do is we are using the data that we collect, the data that Dynatrace Davis collects as part of a problem, and then we're pushing this to a solution like, as I mentioned earlier, a couple, whether it's a ServiceNow workflow, whether it's Ansible Tower. We would basically give all of the details we have about impact and root cause to the tool that you would then use to actually execute the remediation actions. Dynatrace itself, while we have been asked, I think, quite a bit over the last years, we could obviously execute things on the edge or also through our integrations, but this is something that we typically integrate with our partner solutions that are focused and specialized on this type of remediation. So yes, we detect it. We detect the root cause. The action itself to change something is typically done by your configuration management tool or your whatever automation tool you have.
And yeah, so I was going to say that there's another questions that comes in. So, can we move an existing SaaS customer to Azure? What's the journey?
We absolutely can. Actually, our services team has several different options available to move customers either from an existing SaaS environment or even from a managed environment over to Azure as well.
Great, that's awesome.
And that's maybe also, Jay, from my understanding, or also for people that are listening, normally our SaaS instances run on a different cloud vendor that should not be named now because we're focusing on Azure. But is this the question that we can move this over to Azure? Is this the idea?
Yeah, I'm assuming you would want to move from another cloud to our Azure SaaS, and the answer is yes. Still.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
So all the data and everything will be moving smoothly with that transition.
Most of the data, like configuration data and some of the metrics data, is moved over. A lot of the traces data is not able to move over, but it all depends on the size of the tenant also that we have.
Okay,
cool.
Makes sense. So I had a question, Michal, at the beginning, but while we're waiting for other questions, so we didn't touch base. So if I need to attach to a given service, do I need some specific privileges to be able to interact with the different Azure services, or what's the requirements to enable the integration, the Azure monitoring in general?
Yeah, I'll probably pop up a documentation page in a second, but in general, we're ingesting metrics from Azure Monitor, and so you need permissions to access Azure Monitor, but this only stores the data of the metrics. So actually, we also ask to provide permissions to individual services to be able to get more data, like metadata about the instances of the service and properties of those services. So the list is a bit longer. I will try to. I think it was in one of the links that we sent already.
I think it's part of the links, yeah. But don't go in details. I think people can the attendees can look at the link for sure.
So the exact list of permissions is defined in our documentation, and some customers try to limit it, and I understand it because security teams always ask about every row in that line. Most of them are important for our monitoring. I think some of them, like tagging, can be omitted in terms of if you really cannot convince those security teams to allow this kind of access.
We have a question again from an AKS perspective. So Anand, I will just re-answer to that question, and Pavel can add. So the question is, How to install a DT1 agent on AKS cluster, which contains both Linux and Windows nodes. Is there in any automated way ours is managed and okay. Pavel, do you want to take this one?
So first, I haven't tried it, but we do have a one agent extension also for scale sets. So you should be able to install one agent separately on the Linux scale set and Windows scale set, and it should work. I'm not sure that much if operators support it yet.
The operator is mainly on the Linux. So I mean, from our distribution, from the traditional operator. For the Windows, that was a big question mark in my head. So you just enter it. So thanks, thanks, Pavel, for that. So you have to go through an extensions to be able to take advantage of that.
Yes, and you can automate extension installation. You can do it either with AZCLI, or you can inject extensions with Terraform or any automation that you prefer.
All right, so that's I just learned something. So Andy, it's the same thing. I'm learning. It's awesome.
That's why we should do this more often, so that we finally get a little bit smarter than we were before.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Hey, I got a quick question, and this goes to the three of you, Pavel, Michael, and Jay. Obviously, if I am let's say an enterprise organization and I'm full in on Azure, then Azure itself brings clearly, monitoring capabilities on their own. My question now isn't just give me an honest answer. Is like, what do you see is the biggest value add from our users right now that say, while I may run everything on Azure, why do I still use Dynatrace? What's the big value of adding Dynatrace on top of something where I get already some capabilities out of Azure itself?
Maybe I can start here. And the last sentence that you said, I think, explains quite well. You get some monitoring capabilities from Azure, and some of them are quite nice. But I would say they are still, or maybe will for a long time, will be disconnected. So okay, you can monitor this service on the nice dashboard here, and then maybe you can have application inside somewhere else. But Dynatrace can do that as well, but Dynatrace can do much more in terms of providing you the view of how end user perceives your application running on there or anywhere else, and actually link it back to the backbone. And this is still not there. You have synthetic monitors that you can use, but then you will have this alert storm from all the sources that you need to manage. And this is one of the main reasons that actually Dynatrace is created, to root cause problems and to monitor it end to end from the end user to the source of the problem. And I believe still cloud vendors like Azure are not that great in that. Maybe it's not even their core business to be there.
I think actually, and also talking about last sentences, the last sentence you just said is what for me nails it, right? Because Azure and also the other vendors are great in what they have focused on. They are great in providing elastic compute. They're great in providing cloud services. Of course, they have to provide basic monitoring, but I think what they're doing really well is giving us as observability platform vendors access to data that we would have maybe otherwise not have if we would just install the agent. And I think Mark Tomlinson is just saying it as well. For me, I guess we can read it out here, right? They combined one agent tracing and Azure Insights is a perfect way to bring info teams into one cohesive understanding. That's really great. And to follow up on this, I mean, maybe this is not even the real world, because I would assume most of our customers don't just exclusively run in the clouds, because I'm sure they still, as they migrated to the cloud, still have stuff on premise as well. And this is again where Dynatrace comes in, because we're not just focusing on one piece of infrastructure. We can do it across clouds, but also, and this is very important, most systems may still be in your own data center or connect to some other service that runs somewhere, and therefore getting the end-to-end view, I think for me is always the cool argument about Dynatrace.
That's correct. And also the fact that we add context. I mean, it's great to have data. If you don't have any context, then it's more difficult to utilize the data, for sure.
And also
One
we
thing,
have integrations for GCP and AWS, and when there is multi-cloud usage, we bring it all together.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's another point. In fact, that's true. So most of the customers today are not relying on one single cloud provider. So if you're using different cloud providers with Dynatrace, you have the options to see everything from any cloud providers. That's the big value. There's something we briefly touched base, and I was surprised that we didn't have much questions about it. So it's always been a challenge over the years when people says, "Oh, cloud functions." So cloud functions is a great technology. You can do, you can trigger some program for a few minutes. So how is the actual support, our support on cloud functions? Is there what is the requirements from an end user if they want to take advantage of cloud functions? Nihal, Jay, or Pavel?
Well, on Azure, cloud functions are pretty complex because you can have classic ones based on Windows, and these we support very well with our one agent extension for app services. But also you can have functions running on containers, and then you can have two variants with your custom images or built-in images from Azure. And in fact, we should support both when it comes into agent, either with injection of one agent in the Docker file or in the startup. And also we support functions in at least two other ways. So with Azure Monitor integration, we can pull metrics for functions. And also with log integration, we do get logs from Azure Monitor logs.
So, but if you don't inject the agent on the cloud function, so if you, then you will have to use OpenTelemetry to be able to have the end-to-end trace to see what's going on functions. Yep.
For trace, yeah. Can I just share my screen for a second and
yeah, of course,
show
that would be even
how
better.
that here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So of course, on the main Azure view, we have those functions here, and in this case, we have two functions. One of them is instrumented, as Pavel said, instrumented with our integration. And if I click here, I already opened it here. We have a Dynatrace service, which is a concept that has a request incoming and response rate, and maybe some underlying services that are being used. So this is the part of topology that Dynatrace understand and can use it in the analysis of a root cause of the problem.
So that's with a cloud function where one agent has been injected.
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what in which situation are we not injecting the agent? Is there some technical framework or solution or technology that will require to have where we're not able to do inject our agent?
So this is the cloud limitation that we are facing here, and for some of those situations of cloud functions running in a couple of places, we are able to do that. We are able to instrument also like Azure Spring Apps, for example, which is not entirely a function, although it's a workload that is just existing for a short period of time there. So this is also a result of our cooperation with Microsoft, whether we are allowed to inject our one agent into those solutions. Unless, Pavel, you want to correct me here.
Okay. All right. So I think we covered probably everything. I think Andy, you have 1 minute to go. I think you have a constraint. So if I'm not wrong.
That's true. That's true. I got to jump to another thing, but it was asked earlier, and I think we kind of missed it out. In terms of configuration automation, Michael, you showed the configuration screens automatable through the Dynatrace API, and therefore also automatable through things like our Terraform provider or our Monaco project?
Yeah, of course. Like the API for most of the things that we do in Dynatrace exists and is being used by customers, especially the customers that have multiple environments and are creating environments. This is the thing that happens these days more and more often, to create different tenants per project or per group. So actually, this is able to be, it's possible to be automated, but our native integration, I think, is the best way to actually achieve that integration in a hassle-free manner, I would say. Like APIs are there, we can also probably provide a link to that probably later.
Perfect. And with that, I make space for more questions, but I gotta leave. Thank you so much. I learned something new, a lot of new things. I leave the last 10 minutes to you, and hopefully everybody that is still listening, take your chance. You have 10 more minutes, and you have a lot of experts here that know a lot about Dynatrace and Azure. I'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.
Thanks, Andy.
So we have another questions that comes up that arrived related to logs. So let me phrase the question. It's if all logs are now forwarded automatically in Azure to Dynatrace, will this include logs that are from?
Oh, we lost Henrik.
Yeah, looks like Henrik is frozen.
But I can try
But we
to
can answer.
Yeah, so basically with this Azure integration, we support Azure Monitor logs. So all logs that are available in diagnostic settings will be forwarded to Dynatrace. So also, as in the question, app service and function logs that are available there will be flying. That doesn't include insights logs. So like application insights and other insights logs.
So there's another question out there. Can we move our tenants and then preserve data and configuration from AWS to Azure or GCP and vice versa? The answer to that question is yes. You can preserve your configuration and most of your data as you migrate from any other tenant that's either in AWS or GCP and move it over to Azure.
So if we don't have new question, maybe I can show my screen again and just show the Azure Credential API that I discussed before. So yeah, we have a couple of methods here to get current credentials, to create new ones, and to list them or go through particular IDs of those credentials. We even have a validator whether the payload that you want to send there is actually valid JSON that we accept for the services configuration, which can be a huge list of items. So yeah, this is actually in the context of the tenant, but I think this API should be also described in our documentation there. Okay, thanks.
Okay, and I may share a screen for a second and show AKS logs because I found my tenant. So this is Dynatrace that is in fact getting with the migration. And when I go into Azure,
Paolo, you need to share
Pavel,
your
yeah,
screen.
you're not sharing. I will ask Pavel.
I thought
Uh-oh.
Okay, the screen's coming, I think.
okay.
Uh-oh, the last two men standing. Looks like we lost Paolo.
Yeah, I'm in the office, so my internet connection probably is backed up quite well. So I'm not experiencing any troubles today, but I heard a couple of colleagues had their troubles. Pavel was supposed to show AKS logs, and I don't have access to integration that would show that, so I cannot really subside him.
I don't have an AKS. There he is. He's back. Paolo. You were supposed to show an AKS logs.
Yes, I can try, unless there are some questions. Okay, so let's try again. So this is my tenant that is receiving logs with Azure native integration, and as you can see, I have all my logs here, and I can filter them by the resource type. So when I choose Kubernetes logs, and I think it freezed again.
No, we can hear you. At least I can hear you. And see the screen.
Okay, so that's good. I'm able to see all the Kubernetes logs that are present on this cluster. So let's go, for instance, into kube audit logs. I'm sorry, it's very slow on my computer. And yeah, that's it.
Okay, I can see one question from Sandeep that says, can we look at the logs? Yeah, that caused Henrik connection to drop off. Maybe, but if we were using Azure as a network provider here, maybe we could configure some logs of networking, and then we can actually analyze that, and at least see maybe there's some other service that is overusing this network interface or this route. That could be something that we could detect as a abnormal situation, and maybe then actually raise the problem to Azure or reconfigure our network capabilities in that way. But I don't think that Henrik is going directly through Azure with a tunnel to join us here.
I'm trying to scan for any other questions that are out there that we haven't answered yet. I don't see anything else. There's Henrik.
I'm back. That's the beauty of having kids coming back from school. They stole my connection. Never mind. So I just I guess you just we have 2 minutes left for the stream, so I think it's almost time to say goodbye. So first of all, I was thanks everyone that just were connected to this session. So all the people asking great questions. There was a great way of interacting with you. And also, would like to thank to all our experts. So thanks, Pavel, to be here today. Thanks, Michal, as well, and thanks,
Pleasure.
Jay. I think you shared a lot of great details with us, and I think at least I learned a lot of things. So it was really interesting to have you on board to answer all of those great questions and help us help our community for sure. One thing that we have not maybe talked about, so just to let you know, the next Ask Me Anything will happen in less than a month on the 18th of October. So if you're interested on Google Cloud, so GCP, and understand what we are doing, don't forget to follow us for the next Ask Me Anything live. And we will, like mentioned at the beginning, we have another session with Amazon planned for on the 15th of November. So we will cover every cloud provider. So that's the series related to the cloud providers. And last, if you're looking for events where you can meet your local Dynatrace team, we have a couple of events that we will be present. So we'll have first the Ignite event, so Microsoft Ignite, happening on soon. So I think, Jay, would you be there at the
Yeah,
event?
I am going to be there in person. And I've also got a session for us in Dynatrace around modernization with Azure. So you can watch my session also in Ignite.
Awesome. So check it out. Don't take advantage of if you have time to come to Ignite and meet our Jay in person, and also listen to Jay's presentation. And also, for those who follow KubeCon, so KubeCon North America will happen in Detroit this year between October 24th and 28th. So we will have, of course, we'll be present, and I will be there I will do some interviews, and I will do some anything for Is the Observable. So check it out and come and join us and interact with us. We will have a lot of interesting news to share with you. So thanks for your time. Thanks for your presence and asking great questions. And see you soon for another Ask Me Anything. See you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.